topic that first caught me was bold. In a way, if you see just post-pandemic, a lot of things have really shifted. The human psychology has shifted, the attention span has shifted. Like we just talked about, technology is seeing an unprecedented change. Societies have become shabbier, and we are living in a very, very interesting, wacky, confusing world, if I can say. And I think learning and direction, it's no more about trying to keep pace with technology. I think learning has to lead the way in organizations today, right? And it's it in leading and guiding organizations in terms of, what's the next step. I feel it's also going to be very, very innate to every business case, every organization, and what they deal with. I think we can collectively share thoughts and experiences, but I think the answer lies really in what you do, where you do, how you do, and for what you're all coming together to do it. So without ado, the way we are going to break this down is, we thought we will take about 3 questions that we will source all your thoughts. There is collective wisdom in this group. So over to the 3 questions and just point and let's hear some thoughts and let's see, hopefully it works. Sometimes when you need technology most, it doesn't. Keeping fingers crossed. But if you can take the first question, can you just scan this? And then we'll take the first question.
You can check if it works.
It worked, at least when I tried it on Sharon's system. There you go. So I'll just read it out. What challenges are you facing in aligning learning with business outcomes? All right. And how are you addressing them? Let's just pull in some thoughts, folks. I'm also waiting for it to reveal. So there's expectation mismatch. You can see that. Thank you. Yellow ones I really have to read here. Business buy-in. Very common, very pertinent problems. Skill profiles. Dynamic learning path. Measuring outcomes, beautiful. Tangibility, fulfillment. Very cool. So we'll just keep this cloud here. We'll go into the next set of questions. If you can just move to the next question. Thank you. I think we'll keep some of this in perspective as we lead this panel. So how do you currently measure the impact of L&D in your organization? And what would you like to do differently? Any thoughts? How do you measure? And if you had it, what would you do differently? Okay. Aligning business goals. Well, that's the ultimate thing for any measure, right? How do you really align to your business goals? Okay. We'll go in any segue, otherwise we'll go into the last question. There we come. Measure proficiency shift. Nice. Internal promotions. We'll take a third one. Yeah, there's some more coming in. Need for automation. Very nice. Behavioral shift. Time constraint. Okay. One last question and we'll pull in some thoughts. The next question, please. This is an interesting one. So what human skills do you believe will be most valuable in your role in the AI era? All right. I think my request to the panelists is to keep some of these perspectives in view. So I was also sharing with my panelists is everybody is going to take one question. And we'll cover actually some of those thoughts out here. And then we have a quick fire question. And we managed to catch up about 5 minutes before this panel. And then we are all saying that what's the question that we could use to roast Pankaj, who's late? So Pankaj will be kind to you, hopefully. But anyway, so I'll probably go with the first question that I would actually like to pose to Srividya. So it's on the measure, really. So what are really the key, data points that L&D leaders should keep in mind when you have to align, your success to business goals? What do you think are some of those measures and metrics?
Absolutely. Thanks for, I think the segue I can pick from what folks have said here. Aligning to business goals definitely is very imperative today, because if we just drive by learning metrics of learning hours, participation, feedback, I don't think we will be able to sell or, add value to business. So I'll split it into two parts. One is, first, in the conversation with business, do we talk their language? When I say do we talk their language, are we able to strike a conversation to do a little bit of a deeper inquiry into the business strategy itself? Where are they coming from, right? And if they're reaching out to us for a certain, enablement, what would happen if the enablement doesn't happen? How is it going to hit business? Having that conversation gives us some cues into, arriving at the impact metrics, right? So once that clarity is got, so I can take a very simple example of what we did maybe a year ago in Flipkart. So I support the learning for the tech and the product teams as well as the sales team. So I'll take the tech and the product example. We were re-architecting a whole system to improve personalization experience, and the engineering leader in the BU reached out saying, I want to train some of my architects, senior managers, and the developers on AI modeling, right, methodologies. So that was quite an ask, because it was one of the niche areas that they wanted to venture into, and I wanted to understand more. So I said, let's work backwards. If this happens, what is going to change for the customer, right? And how do you want this team to kind of move? Where are they today, and where do you want them to get to? So those conversations helped us map where is the talent skill currently, what are exactly the gaps that are there, and not just the skill gaps. I also went one step ahead and said, do everybody in your team want to go through this, right? Because they were also working on a technology which was quite cutting edge, and because of this need, some of them had to kind of make this transition. So we went ahead and asked, the aspirations of individuals. Are you really in line with, making this complete shift to the other skill, right? So there is that human element also which comes in saying, I'm aligned, I'm not aligned, I'm not interested to do it right now. Maybe I want to continue in the same technology for a year, and then I will pick up the next one. So some of these conversations not only look at what does business need, it also looks at where is the employee in this whole cycle. Because otherwise you train everybody and they're disinterested, they may not give you the outcome that you're expecting, right? So that is on the input side. And as we ran this program, it was almost a multi-month program with multiple lab-like sessions, because it was in the technology AI space. And they had hackathons where they had to ideate, figure out how do they want to re-architect, and finally make the product go live. So I think in every stage, we broke down the output metrics into multiple milestones. At every milestone, we said, what is it that we can measure, which is an impact of this learning program, right? So that really helped us, sharply articulate where were we at the beginning of the journey, how are we progressing through the journey, and what happened at the end of the journey. And the employees' aspirations were also kind of balanced through this whole process. So that is a way in which I tried to align, data from a learning perspective to what business wanted from us.
Thank you. It's a good perspective and a good example. But again, talking about example, probably Kasturika, Wipro is been a place where, from a scale, it's an institution that has actually produced so many L&D leaders as well. Can you give me example where, metrics that have been successfully demonstrated? Because in Wipro kind of an environment, you see that scale, or from your past experience. Can you share 1-2 more use cases and examples for our perspective?
Thank you, Prasad. So I'm going to pick up from both perspectives. Before joining Wipro, I was with PwC, so I have seen both, like the consulting side, which is like a boutique organization, and IT services, which is like, it's like a manufacturing setup kind of thing. That's the difference I call out. So wherever we are asked to measure the metrics of be it a program or be it a learning and development team, so most of the times we see that 10,000 certifications completed, okay, 50,000 hours of training done. So those are very vanity kind of metrics if I call out, like what is the impact over there? So, I mean, okay, we have done, it's fine, but what is the impact of that is what is the real question that comes as a finding out the outcome. Now, one of the example I can call out in my previous organization, what we did is when we saw a lot of escalations coming out in a couple of projects, we tried to deep dive into it, and what we found was the problem was with the code quality. So code quality is something often, it's not something people train on. So we came up with the coding standards program where the entire organization used the standardization of code, design principles. So after that training, deep dive, a lot of time we spent, and what we saw as a result was cleaner codes, resulted in less number of defects. So matrix that we used to find the success of the program was, of course, the lesser number of defects in the unit testing and in the SIT, which again led to huge customer satisfaction. So that is one I can give. And now talking about the scale, so I drive the campus training, which is like, huge bulk. It's like 25% of the headcount of the organization. So there, again, we are training people in the campus so that they become very ready to be deployable once they come to the organization. Now here comes, when you do a very generic kind of a training in the campus for people, we call it out like industry ready program. But how much of it is actually applicable to make them deployable? So in order to crack this, what we have done is we have designed the table of content in consultation with our clients. So bolte na jar se ukhad dena. So that's what we tried to do. So we got some of our clients and we said, let's have a table of content design as per your expectation. And now we see that because the training is designed with their bind, so it's very easy for us to kind of train people on that and very focused outcome based on deployment. So those are the two things that I could call out from a metrics standpoint. And it has been hugely successful so far.
Thank you. I'm going to peel this in complexity a little more. So when it comes to a little more tougher, maybe Captain Pranav, you could take this. When it comes to taking a little more tougher area, like how do you measure skill progress or culture? How do you go about, what are the challenges you find in measuring something, as culture and skill progress, and what are some of the thoughts and solutions you have to address that?
So fine, I'm a mix of personalities. So I got trained with Indian Army, and then last 12 years, I'm this side of the world. We call it the civil side of the world, right? And my learning had been very different because where I come from a kid to a gentleman, you are made in almost 1 year, okay? And you are ready to take a bullet for the country, okay? And I'm very proud and privileged. I don't know, means if Anuba Batra is here, I think she's just moved out. She's the sister of late Vikram Batra, Captain Vikram Batra. So if she's there, you can meet her. A big round of applause for whatever the gentleman has done. So when I see, when I compare the training piece, it is that part of Indian Army. And even when we go for whatever operation, when we go for jungle operation, we have a different set of a training, 3 months training, right? 100 days, the thing gets changed. Then you go for mountain yeah, so here she comes. Can we have a big round of applause for Anuba Batra? She's the sister of late Captain Vikram Batra. And I was just talking about the learnings of Army. So that's what, within, and the trainings are, thank you ma'am, can you take a seat? Thank you. So the trainings are so effective where I say that the things are really, the impact is seen. But when I see this part of the world, and I've worked for a few of the big organizations like Renault, Nissan, Coca-Cola. So I'll tell you a story. I'll not mention an organization. So where we were in India for last 25 years, and we took an oath that whatever we did in last 25 years, we'll do it next 5 years. While we were training that, okay, we'll do for next 5 years, and we came to know that no, we'll not do for in next 5 years, we'll do the same thing in next 4 years. So all our t-shirts, blah, 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 got changed because 5 became 4. So we got a trainer from Australia. The trainer came and trained and blah, blah, blah happened. But after 1 month, I could not see that effort. I could not see that effect and impact. When I work for a startup. We are like an Uber of logistics working in EMEA region. So the thing is, blah, blah, blah doesn't work. Either at the end of the day, either whatever you wanted should be converted in an executable action, or it did not. When 5-7 years back, EV was just a mouthpiece. Everyone used to say that, okay, EV. And we were doing quite good. Renault, Nissan, we had 2 EV products. Leaf, if you remember, Leaf was a product which we had, and we were quite doing well. We were one of the champions in EV. And then everyone started learning EV, and then we made EV, and today everyone is selling it, but then it was a niche skill. Now when you go to the market, start selling the EV, everything is a new concept. Right? So where I see that the hard and core thing of how it moves down, that from whichever organization you work in, you took an oath to do some training intervention for some changes. Did it happen? Now also the fact is, where we are living in, what I strongly feel is this particular function is quite stressed. You have your so-called end product, which will be in the organization for 2.5 years maximum. Otherwise you are a cliche employee if you're working in an organization for more than 2.5. Though in automotives we have people for working for 10-20 years. So in 2.5 years, with these interventions, you have to be that effective in those projects where it is quite stressful, right? And then you have all the measurements, like just the session before happened, and someone took that, okay, let's give the feedback of the session. The things are so instantaneous. In that, learning is a very pious thing. When you say that you learn a skill, it requires some time. But in this, environment where the thing, by the way, I just read somewhere we have outbeaten the goldfish. Now, goldfish is the fish which forgets the thing, and pre-COVID we had 12 seconds of attention span. Now we have 9 seconds of attention span. In such a field, how to be impactful and measurable and with all the quantum, and that guide gives your company in next 2 years. And you have to be relevant now. So I know it is quite stressful, but when I see from the startup point of view, I see there is a lot of entrepreneurship happening. In terms of projects, which are also many organizations deployed, in terms of projects, in terms of small teams, in terms of some actions which is now, right? So how you will be relevant, how you will be impactful is only from my side is whatever job you took, was it delivered or not? And then there is no blah, 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 blah happens, either you did it or you did not, right? So that is quite simple if we are true to ourselves. Rest, I think it is, the English continues, right? So in this, I strongly feel that whatever shifts we are trying to make through the L&D intervention, it has to be relevant and has to be now, is what I feel about it. Thank you.
Okay, very, very interesting but deep perspective, and you can see the origin of that. But thank you for that, and it's a very fresh thought. Ruchi, this is an area that's your favorite, so I'm taking a complete segue on our friend AI. So what do you see as the same question that we asked, your perspective on that, right? What do you see as the most important human skill that we need to keep focus for our people and leadership at these times?
Thank you, Prasad, and good evening, everybody. I'm Johnston Richard, strange first name, supposed to be the last name, but they instantly became a celebrity by having it reversed. So I'm known as Johnston. You're right if you call me Richard as well. I'm part of Tesco, and it's a pleasure for me to be here. So first of all, thank you, Prasad, for this panel, and thank you for the organizers. So the answer to the question is in the question itself about what makes us human, in fact, right? I just want to tell you what happened a few years ago. I think it was 2014. And what I'm about to share is something that might have happened to you as well. I live in Whitefield, and a friend, now he's moved to Oxford, he's in London, so he had sent me the Google address or the map for his son's birthday, and I was traveling, and I was traveling to this place that I hadn't been before. And I'm driving, and it's about 6 in the evening, it's 7, I'm still not getting there. So slowly I see the city disappearing into the background in my rear view mirror, and I'm heading into a strange frontier. And there's no civilization, there are no roads, it takes me outskirts, I see bats. It's more like this Halloween movie kind of thing. And it takes me out, and finally it brings me to a cemetery. And it tells me, your destination has arrived. right?
It's true in a way.
And I was thinking, well, I just asked for the destination, but it has brought me to my final destination, right? So, so the point here is about what makes us human, and the balance between AI and what makes us human. So the question is, how much do we rely on AI to such a point where we lose our faculties of judgment, right? So a fine balance would be brilliant, but I think it's a very important thing to consider. Can AI go wrong? Right? How many of us feel that AI can go wrong? Right. And if you said that, absolutely, AI can go wrong. We call that AI hallucinations. And that's where the first critical thing, I think I would like to share 3, Prasad. And the first one is our critical thinking, our decision making is at the forefront, because as ma'am said that earlier this afternoon, I completely agree with you. Like, I wanted to stand up and shout, wow, right? Right? So it is so important for us to remember what makes us human, and we can't be replaced, right? We are irreplaceable. And the AI is just as good as the kind of data that is fed into it, right? And AI can be biased. We have seen that in the recent US elections as well, right? So AI can be biased. It can be, it can give us information based on what is fed into it. So that's one. Number 2, so we need to have a balance in our critical thinking, decision making. I think Alka also mentioned about synthesizing information, if Alka is somewhere here. Right, so we get this information, but how do you synthesize it? How do you derive information from that can help us to make the right decisions? So we can leverage it, but not entirely rely upon AI. So human faculty is very important. And number 2, Prasad, I feel, is the creativity, right? So I'm a writer. I'm also a composer and a songwriter. I do that vehemently with a couple of albums up on Spotify and a book on Amazon. And I think it's just a drop in the bucket. But I found that, you know, when it comes to creativity, you can find a huge difference between what is AI-generated content and human-generated content. Though AI will get there sometime, but I think creativity, which brings out the human essence. So what makes us humans is our flaws. And our flaws are beautiful, right? The AI is flawless, so people will not relate to it. But AI does make some grave mistakes, and there are lots of studies on it. But creativity, I use that term lightly because I think eventually it might get there. But the human element is so important. And the third and the most important thing, Prasad, which I'd like to share is emotional intelligence. I think with more of AI coming up, there is a growing concern among youngsters. They get into silos. We see that with our children. Mental stress, people working in silos. They need that. Of course, a bot can talk to you, but all that can happen. But it's very important to have that emotional intelligence. So as leaders, I think the most important thing, like the Aristotle experiment, which happened a few years ago, it talks about how we can create that psychological safety within people, within team members, how we can have that listening so we can read between the lines. And you know, the biggest lie today is, I am fine. How are you? I'm fine. So as managers, we can have more, I think empathy was one of the things that came up, wasn't it? Like, empathy is so real, and vulnerability. So, and through all of these things, there's so much of information. AI can give us loads and loads, but I think 4 things are very important. So I'll wind this by sharing what we do in Tesco. We believe process, people, and technologies. People are our biggest assets, because without people we can't really do much, right? And we do all these things for people. And we do 4 things brilliantly in Tesco. Number 1, we create clarity and purpose, because we live in a VUCA world. Volatility, complexity, uncertainty, and ambiguity is so rampant. And we need to clear that clarity of purpose and make it worthwhile. Number 2, create that growth mindset, what else can we do? And number 3 is regular feedback. When I say not feedback, but constantly having the conversation so we know what we are saying, what we are receiving, and not assuming that the communication is already done. And I would like to close this by saying it's all underpinned by psychological safety. So the human element is that important. So I'd like to say, through it all, a balance, a very fine balance of AI and human intervention is very important, and AI is very powerful, but I think I would like to quote by saying Elon Musk as well, who actually said it could also be destructive, not just disruptive if you don't know how to use it, right? So a lot of focus on, as we proceed, I think the World Economic Forum as well highlighted, the focus on emotional intelligence will go up as AI goes up. So without this balance, we'll see, with this balance, I think we'll have a great ecosystem where we will absolutely thrive. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good 3 perspectives, right, on just the human value, the whole creativity, and just the emotional side to things. Very important. I don't think anything in the world really gets nurtured without a touch, without that affection and without love. It's a reality. We need that warmth. We are all social beings at the end of the day. I think it'll all evolve. We will find synergy, and I do believe that AI has a huge power to accelerate intended outcomes when pointed well. The world needs it. Solutions to some of the areas, it can accelerate intentions with much more pace. So thank you for that sharing. Vinutha, this is for you in a very different section on microlearning, which has been an area with the scale that you're handling at HCL. How really are you integrating microlearning strategies into your learning strategies and ensuring that there is continuity in microlearning?
Yeah, thank you. My name is Vinutha, and I am from HCL Tech. So this is an interesting topic when it comes to microlearning. There's a buzz saying that we don't have time, there is no attention span, and let's learn everything fast. But the fact is that while learning can be in nuggets, but the learning is a journey, and it can't be in short bite. So the crux of the problem is to really, how do you integrate micro-learning into your overall learning arc, I would say perspective. If you don't tie the micro-learning part into your learning objectives and hence the business goals, you may lose the essence of the outcome driven from the micro-learning. So the first and the foremost is to really design micro-learning in a very sequential, modularized way, building one above the other in such a way that it actually overarches your overall learning objective. Now, say for example, I want to actually have a GenAI developer today, but if I say, hey, you're going to learn 3 minutes, 3 minutes, 3 minutes, but that several 3 minutes don't add up to your entire journey of being a developer, which essentially means that you've got to integrate the micro-learning with your detailed learning. And where are we applying today? That's one part that it has to be structuralized, and it has to be modularized, stack up one above the other. And most important part is that where do you use it? From my real-time examples, I can say that it is very good to kind of give it as an intro. Somebody wants to kind of cross-learn something, and you can give it as a familiarize, hey, this is what it is. Something around the safety measures, like, you want really people to know and then kind of actually come out of it, with reinforcing some things that you have already done through your compliance training. Okay, now let's have a micro-learning to reinforce thought process, which are around mandatory training programs. Outcome of the training, for example, retro, whatever you have learned, can we actually have a learning nugget to kind of recap the entire subject, which essentially leads into your gaming, rewards mechanism. So that also helps in, really constructing your micro-learning, and it will be more effective as well, because now you're reinforcing through rewards, gamification, as well as you're not wasting a lot of time. You know, most of the developers think that learning is a waste of time. And most of the business leaders also may think that a lot of wastage is happening in, you know, by L&D spend because outcome is not there. So you have to have a balance between the individual aspiration, individual time, and most importantly, where do you spend, how much you spend on the content part to derive at the outcome. Real-time example, if I have to take, there are many firms who have really leveraged very well. I think supply chain, the retail outlets where they have distributed outlets across the geos, especially for the sales representatives, very beautifully mobile-based micro-learnings are being leveraged. And with the AI invention, even in our organization, we are trying to make it very adaptive and personalized. This helps actually to create micro-learning also in the personalized way. Another area is leadership training, where people generally don't have time, whereas where they have to be spending more time on their learning. Unfortunately, they don't have time all the time. And we have kind of incorporated something called step-up programs through micro-learning, where they actually are, because if you have to kind of create a learning culture organization, you have to lead by example, and it has to be top-driven, which means at least the leaders' dashboard should say that they have spent time on learning, and it's not about number of hours, but about the topic that they are familiar with, and the lingos that they can use during their team meetings, their interactions with the client. So we have created micro-learning modules to have leadership training. So in short, let me wind up with, it's a detailed question, but as long as we can blend micro-learning into your deep learning path at the right appropriate places in a very meaningful way and in a sequential way, I think we can have the formula right.
Thank you. But a lot of design thinking, but very relevant also in a world which is seeking to break things down and consume it in shots. Yeah. Well, thank you. So, Pankaj, the last one for you. What do you think are some of the biggest challenges that you face or we face as professionals when it comes to personalized learning interventions in an organization? You want it to be personalized. It has to make an impact to the end person. And what are some of your thoughts in terms of how do you really overcome those challenges?
Thank you so much. And my apologies for being late. Hi everyone, my name is Pankaj Sharma. I'm taking care of talent management for HCG Global Healthcare. Before coming to this, why I got late, let me set a little context. I was in the leadership training for the sales team, right? So these are the sales people, those are meeting customers there. So let me give you a brief about something in the conclusive format. There are 400 personalities in the psychology. Human personality I'm talking about. Out of these 400 personalities, there are various parameters are taken, and we were able to find it out in the 4 personalities. When you shared about the customized, the learning, and this speaks about the customized learning. Number 1 is called the personality of the people called analytical, very analytical people. You can't, talk to them if you do not have something to substantiate, some knowledge sharing, some real learning sharing. They don't give you the time to listen or anything, If you just would like to understand how these people are there are certain traits. They are very updated people. Their clinic, their hospital, their dress, their attire, everything is very well organized. You can understand very well. They belong to that personality called analytical. They have a lot of questions to ask. If you really know the answer, they will respect you. If you just try to take them round and round and beat around the bush, they will never allow you to meet again. First personality. Second one is called the driver personalities. They are the key business leaders. They have so much of customer orientation and everything. They want more self-appreciation than I am the king of the market. Again, another personality. Whenever you are going to them, so I just shared simply thing that if you are spending 7 minutes, out of these 7 minutes, share your 5 minutes towards the personality, 2 minutes for the core message, what you wanted to communicate. Like in analytical, you need to share 5 minutes, especially to share the real science, and 2 minutes maybe the expectation setting or anything. Here it is opposite. Third one is called the people, those are very friendly. Seems to be very friendly, amiable, but they are not only friendly to you, they are friendly to all the people and your competitors also. You need to really understand. And that's what where you need to, if you're driving a car, you need to put your gear in the 4th gear and accelerator will be on the high accelerator, right? You need to be very high demanding. Your facial expression, everything is really important there. And 4th one is called very expressive. They don't give the business, but they talk much. Very extrovert people. So customization of a learning is really very much important. And the most important thing, what makes human as compared to the other species really very different, what Daniel Goleman shared, we shared about the emotional intelligence. You know, I conduct a lot of master, you know, the trainer coaching sessions for the emotional intelligence. So what is different as compared to the other species and the humans? The only one thing, that is the presence of amygdala in the brain, and this amygdala is one of the most important things which creates a fear in the mind of the people, and also the ability to solve the bigger problem. Right, this is what, you know, that is why we are at the overall, you know, all the species, we are able to, you know, put the lion in the cage, elephant there, those are most powerful and, you know, and the different abilities, right? So here, the important thing is that, are you aware about yourself? Do you know what are your trigger factors? Do you know about your own emotions? That is called the self-management, you know, awareness. Second one is called the self-management. What do you do to manage all this? When you are aware about the people, when you are aware about your trigger factor, what are the events, what are the people, what are the scenarios, what are the situations, what are the events, which triggered something in you. And this trigger has a lot more thing to do with your mental stability, your mental peace, and at the workplace also. Another thing is called self-awareness, self-management, relationship management, the people around you, in your family, and that is why it is said that the way you do anything is the way you do everything. You can't be different at the workplace and the home, or maybe, you know, in your friend circle, in the society and the community, right? So are you aware that when you are very well aware to manage yourself, you can manage other people also? So first important thing is self-awareness and self-management, and then the last most important thing is called the empathy. The most critical and the most important thing here in the corporate world, when you put learning into the place, do not set that very high expectation in front of the management. When I talk to my leaders, the CEO and this type of people, there is also some hidden story. It is all the leaders driven. If your leader is pro L&D interventions, pro training oriented, he will definitely put you there. If they have not seen the magic and the transformation because of L&D, they will keep you aside. And they will have this. So you need to do a lot more things to understand the leader mentality and the mindset, and to transform the organization from the older mindset to the newer mindset, and that is called the learning organization. Lot more thing is really need to establish there, and then you can, you know, be on the driver's seat and you can run the show. Important thing is, do you know the business? When it comes to business, the people around, those are the real producer of the business. Do you know their pain areas? And do you know their number? When you talk in front of a leaders about the numbers, about the real problem, what people are going through, they will definitely going to listen to you. They will be hearing you. And next time, they will be waiting for your point of view to be shared there. Right? So there are so much to share, especially in this arena. And I believe that L&D has a lot more things to do. And there is this Robin Sharma has said, the leader without that title, you know, you need not to be CEO, but you can be one of the most important person to influence the CEO. Understand this power and never be, you know, I am one of the person in the crowd. No, you are not one of the, you are not amongst the crowd. You are one of the person who is very much different, who has this capability. We all update our mobile at particular interval, you know, monthly, quarterly, something. The important thing is how do you update yourself? So Daniel Goleman said in his book, The Emotional Intelligence 2.0, he said that the three things, if you really in the today's scenario, VUCA scenario, and you know all this kind of jargons and the terminology what people are using in the modern world, that do your people have a clear clarity and the purpose what Suresh actually shared very nicely. Second one is, do you really give them the feedback, very regular feedback? And do you have the proper expectation setting? Where are they? Where they need to go? In my terminology, I coined this word this terminology is called the MAD analysis. You know, this is my own coined word. MAD stands for mastery, where you want your people to be there in terms of execution of the performance or skill demonstration. A is here, is actual. Where are they currently? And do you know the difference? Right? So when you chart out the entire organization, different designations, positions, leadership, and all the people over there, there are a lot more things to be done in the competency framework which is aligned there. Right? against the two important parameter, performance and the potential of the people, and then work out accordingly, when you receive the feedback, to take these people to the next level. So I personally feel that really L&D can do a transformative work there. And always, I personally believe that do not have that very high expectation setting. Do not tell them that I have a magic stick in my hand. I'll come, you do this program with the help of external or internal, whatever, it will change the scenario. No, nothing will happen. Always, under commitment and the over deliver is absolutely, much, much better. Right? So this is not something, which you conduct one training program, people will change. Nothing will going to happen. The organization is from 30, 40 years. How can you change the people? Those are 50 years, 55 years of age. They have their own mindset. They have their own, the baggage which they carry from last so many years. You are one of the person. So it takes time. So have this proper expectation setting with the leaders. Probably, if you do all these small things and try to build your own team along with you, I think over a period of time, you can really have a good time and you have a real respect in an organization and the reputation, especially for the L&D per se. So this is what, I just wanted to share. Thank you.
It's a nice thing to, end the session in a question with a deep practitioner. And thanks for grounding us in biology beyond AI. It needed some grounding to know that we are real human beings. I think it's well said. So, we did tell that for such a diverse panel here, we will actually have a quick fire question, or like the Karanjor show, the rose questions. So I'm going to have a go at it. I'm just thinking, all right, Srividya, data or intuition?
For me, it's both. Okay. Because data at face value doesn't give you the story, the persona, the aspiration behind. So I think it's a combination of both.
Okay, no, nice, very interesting perspective. Kasturika, maybe you could take this. What is really your motivation or goal when you have L&D as a profession? What got you there?
Yeah. So my professional goal, and especially for staying in the L&D space, is to be able to impact people's life. And when I say people, it is very targeted to the young starters, that is the people who enter the workforce. So that's my goal of my professional life.
Richie, for you, learning hours or increased productivity?
Learning hours or productivity? Very good, tricky question, right? I know I can't phone a friend, right? or go with that.
You can. we have. I've already taken the hotline.
Just kidding. Right. I will go with what Abraham Lincoln said. He said, give me 6 hours to chop a tree, and I'll spend the first 4 hours sharpening my axe. So, learning hours.
Maybe Vinutha, you could take this question. Mandatory training versus learning in the flow of work.
The best strategy in my view is an integrated approach where mandatory trainings for all your compliances, functional trainings, and all of these with the learning in the flow of work for your continuous learning and to really have an aspiration.
Oh, nice. That's a safe answer too, but it's a practical, correct one. You have to blend and use it in context.
Actually, if you do double click, maybe it boils down to finally learning in the flow of work, because which, of course, learning in the flow of work should have a balance of being relevant, being specific, and having an objective. I think when that is there, obviously mandatory is not required, but we are not in that world, so that's why I said.
I got it. Well, Pankaj, what's the vanity? This is an apt question for you. What's the vanity metric that you dislike the most?
A difficult question to answer.
No.
Yeah.
Stack rank them.
Satisfying everyone. Yeah. And trying to keep happy everyone. Difficult to say no at point of time.
Yeah. So the whole thing that sometimes the whole thing is like a stand-up comedy where you have to conjure these programs and you don't know which is actually going to click and which is not. And unlike the stand-up comedian, we can't give gali also.
I just want to kind of differ here, I think, from what he said.
More than that, when you were asking this, the question came into my mind, and that what would you like to choose, your mother or wife? My God. So learning hours and, the performance, that gives me, that lot of things. Then how can you, substantiate the performance along with this? But that definitely performance, if that is not there, what the learning hours will going to do? It's not a tick mark activity over there, or many like that. Many more things are there, right? So it's so interesting. It may not be or with. Probably substitution is the change the terminology, or along with probably will help us to solve the bigger, the question. Yeah.
I got it. No, thank you, Sharon. Are we having a chai break, or it's the next session after that? The difference is that in IT, the I is very big. It's all about I. In the other side, it is TI, totally for India. So there's a big difference between both those worlds. You're rooted there, and here you're finding your roots. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for all the perspectives. I had the easy job of asking all the questions, and you're the tougher way of sharing perspectives. But so much of learning. Thank you so much for everything that you shared. Thank you.